Welcome back here to the studios, and as promised, I'm joined now by our National Public Affairs Director, Secretary for Umur Kharja, respected Amjad Mahmood Khan Saab. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So it's really good to have you. I know you have a very busy day, especially today, but thank you for taking time out. And you've brought a couple of guests with us, guests with you. One from your national team, Mujib Jalsa Salana, also be speaking. Thank you, welcome. And Roshan Abbas Saiba, nice to meet you as well. Welcome. Executive Director for the Campaign for Uyghurs. So Amjad Bhai, in the limited time that we have, I'd just like to jump right in and ask you about this last day on the Hill. You know, every year the National Umur Kharja team brings the secretaries from all around the country and closes on Capitol Hill to meet with representatives, with senators, and talk about, you know, something that matters in the space of religious freedom. Can you tell us about this year's Day on the Hill?
It is our most important day of advocacy as a community in the USA, and every year now over a decade, we bring all the secretaries together from across the country. We had over 125 volunteers from over 30 states, and what we do is we brief congressional offices about issues that affect religious communities who are being persecuted. Obviously, that includes our own Jamaat and the issues that are happening in Pakistan and Indonesia. This year, we had a special program where we briefed over 300 U.S. congressional offices in a matter of 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
And that's an incredible amount of output in a short amount of time. And the focus this year was really about the Uyghur Muslims. These are the Muslims in China who are being terribly persecuted. All the headlines, all the stories are about this community under surveillance, mass detention, torture, terrible reports. And as a persecuted community ourselves, it is our religious duty to defend the rights of our brothers and sisters who are persecuted. And so for that, we reached out to the Uyghur Muslim community in America, and we befriended Roshan Abbas. She is an executive director for the Campaign for Uyghurs. Her father was a very well-known professor, worked with Professor Abdul Salam as well.
That's fascinating.
And she spoke at this event along with many members of Congress and the U.S. Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback. So it was an excellent event and an amazing opportunity to serve the community by bringing awareness to our brothers and sisters in the Uyghur community.
And if I'll promise to come back to you, Mujib Bhai, but I just want to welcome again Roshan Abbas Saiba. And please, can you also talk about the Day on the Hill and how that, you know, what are your impressions of that as an advocacy event, and how you also participated in that, and what you felt you took away from that as an impact? Yeah.
Right now, according to U.S. officials, there are 1 to 3 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, as the most people know by now. But we have been crying out for help for a few years now, and there's no action being taken. There are a lot of news reports, a lot of talks. So Ahmadiyya Muslim Community dedicating this day for the Uyghur Muslims, and being able to take us to the Hill, to the congressmen and their staff, introducing our cause. That was really helpful. The human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch and the Amnesty International, they state that the scale of this atrocity is unprecedented, what is going on today. But not many people in the world still don't know about it. So I was really touched by the compassion and the courageousness of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community dedicating this day for us, spending all day with us, advocating for our cause. That is something really beautiful. I'm really touched by this. All Uyghur community actually really touched by the help that our Ahmadiyya Muslim community is offering.
Thank you for that. And Mujib Bhai, you know, in the wake of Day of the Hill, what do you sense has been the impact of this, both at the Hill and in the federal government, and you know, in general? That's the idea, is awareness raising and advocacy on behalf of them as a religious freedom and human rights enterprise. What has this advocacy resulted in thus far?
I think I'm quite surprised at how few people really know what's going on with the Uyghur people in China, especially in my professional life, as I've talked to people that are just not really aware of what's going on. This idea of bringing about advocacy and spreading the knowledge of what's going on is creating a better and greater awareness. We hosted an event where one of the students from Stanford came and he talked and said that his reason for being in the United States was actually the Dr. Abdus Salam Science Award, which gave us a connection that we didn't know that we even had ourselves. And so the more and more we learn about this community, we see that there's a very deep root that is a connection between our community and theirs. Beyond that, we face persecution in similar ways, and like our own persecution, the more that we make our elected officials aware of that, and we speak for each other, the more they're actually starting to listen, and they're starting to spread that word in their circles. So I think it is having an effect.
Okay, mashallah. So obviously, Ms. Abbas, you spoke at the Day of the Hill, and you're very active in your own capacity, but then also working with the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. It's great to see you here at Jalsa.
Thank you.
What is your impression so far of Jalsa Salana and the convention here in Harrisburg?
I'm just amazed by how large it is and the unity of the people from all around the world. I'm really excited to be the part of this event, and I met yesterday with Dr. Abdus Salam's daughter and some other people that we have met, and we are making reconnection here. My father was the first Uyghur to meet with Dr. Abdus Salam 35 years ago, and opening this road between Dr. Abdus Salam and the Uyghur community. And my father, Dr. Abbas Burhan, he sent the Uyghur students to Italy when Dr. Abdus Salam offered to help. And now I see this continuation of the help from all Jama'at of Ahmadiyya to Uyghur people. This is something really touches me, and
we have a picture if we can,
yes.
if we can show that.
Yeah, if we can zoom in this center camera here to this.
This is your father with Dr. Salam. What
Yes.
year was this?
This is mid-'80s, I would believe 86, 87.
And what did your father specialize in?
Genetic engineering, biology.
Genetic engineering and biology, mashallah.
And just think about this, Naveed, an incredible, unbelievable historic fact that Professor Abdus Salam, trying to advance science in the Muslim world, was in China, and he was asking Uyghur Muslim intellectuals
Mashallah.
to advance science by inviting them to China, working with them, and now 30, 40 years later, the Uyghur community intellectuals, 400 professors or so, have gone missing.
Yeah.
So now the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is advocating
Yeah.
for the very community that our great leaders were advocating for 40 years ago. So this is something I think incredibly blessed in the work that we do.
Mashallah. Amjad Bhai, can you tell us a little bit, taking a step back, about public affairs and Umur Kharja? For those who don't know, what are some of the areas of focus in your department? Obviously, advocacy on behalf of persecuted minorities, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Uyghur community, Rohingya. In addition to that, what else has Umur Kharja been up to this year?
So our portfolio is quite vast. We had advocated for the Rohingya Muslim community last year because they're an incredibly persecuted community, and the work that the oppression that they're facing in Myanmar is something that's really acute, and we worked with the Rohingya community since then to try to lift their issue as much as possible. But really, beyond just Capitol Hill advocacy, we're really focused on grassroots advocacy. We're here in Harrisburg.
Yeah.
We have tremendous amount of leaders who are coming here, a lot of guest speakers. We're meeting with our national president, Amir Sahib, very soon. And these are people who are from many different NGOs. We're giving the humanitarian award to Habitat for Humanity, which had done amazing interfaith builds in North Carolina with our Ahmadi refugees. And we're honoring this organization, which of course former President Jimmy Carter made famous, and their leadership is here present. And Congresswoman Norma Torres is getting the humanitarian award shortly. She's been a stalwart supporter of immigrant communities, and she went to Guatemala. She was part of the Nasser Hospital inauguration. She met Hazur as well. So part of our job is to create those synergies. And then of course media work, trying to raise awareness about defending Islam in the press. That's also a part of Umur Kharja USA work. We've made some great inroads. We have journalists here on site. We're broadcasting live for the next few hours, explaining what Jalsa is, this 71-year tradition in America, to all Americans, to invite them to True Islam, which is our signature campaign.
Absolutely fantastic, and I'm so glad to hear about the Humanitarian Award recipients this year. And you mentioned that they'll be meeting respected Amir Saab, and you also have a special event today, both on stage and then afterwards a dinner. Can you talk about that?
Very shortly, we have a guest session. It'll be broadcast live. We're going to be hearing from a lot of our supporters, and their amazing remarks. The theme: compassion in a time of conflict. An amazing theme this year with all that's going on within our own borders, on the southern border particularly, many children who are being unfairly detained, racial divisions, political divisions, ethnic divisions. It is our responsibility, what Hazur told us in Philadelphia when he was inaugurating that mosque, we must wipe away the tears of our neighbors. That is the message this afternoon. That is the message we'll hear all over this afternoon, all over the world. This message will be broadcast. It is the message of Hazur, that as a community, our job is to show compassion without discrimination, without any hesitation, and to all the communities and the American communities, particularly here, who need it.
Absolutely, and we look forward to covering that event, and we'll broadcast that live on MTA on this same stream here, so you'll get to hear that. And it's, having the opportunity to engage with other Muslim organizations, administrative groups, affinity organizations. It's actually quite remarkable. And then you think about Muslim groups in the news, often it's bad news and bad groups. It's actually quite remarkable that public officials, academics, leaders in civil society come here to speak in favor of the community. How are they able to learn about and be impressed by what the community is doing in the first place?
It really is about cultivating relationships at the local level. You know, we did an open mosque iftar this year, May 18th, across 50 chapters. We opened our mosques for an iftar for all community members, right? So locally, when our public officials, law enforcement, chiefs of police, chiefs of fire, mayors, congress people, they come locally, they meet their constituents, they meet a Muslim, because majority of Americans have never met a Muslim.
That's right.
And they harbor a negative view of Islam. That is an information deficit we need to fix, and so we did that in the iftar event, and now our job is much easier because they already know us, and when we invite them to come to the Jalsa, whether it's this Jalsa or the West Coast Jalsa, which we hold every year, many officials like to come. We get oversubscribed, actually, with the amount of interest we have at this event. And so I think this is a blessing of Jalsa Salana, the storied tradition that the Prophet Islam started in 1891. 75 people at that Jalsa, now Jalsas all over the world. Just think about the scope of that. In 120 years or so, it's become such an incredible tradition in our Jamaat, and there's a lot of blessings for that. And we also invite members of our Congress and staff to go to the UK Jalsa coming up as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to build relationships.
It's fantastic, and I think now in particular in politics, where it's so divisive and the topic of Islam continues to come up in various forms and capacity, it's more important than ever for the Muslim community to be engaged at the federal level. So what are you doing as we close up in this session? We're on time. What are you doing to engage our political leaders to help them understand a true message of Islam and what we as American Muslims bring to society?
I think the key is that we have been in America for 100 years, so we feel we're an authentic, credible voice on issues that affect the American Muslim community. And we are American through and through, in the sense that we have served this country for so long that our service speaks for itself. So we want to be known as the subject matter experts on issues that affect the American Muslim community, because we have that credibility, right? So the idea is that we don't need to be unnecessarily apologetic about our beliefs. We just have to introduce people to Islam, the beauties of Islam, the inner beauties of Islam, what is true Islam, dispelling the myths about Islam, and doing so in a manner where we believe we've developed an expertise. But we do it by reaching out, an unclenched fist, opening our hands to all of the American Muslim communities all over the country. So we have great relationships with the American Muslim community.
Mashallah.
several million strong in America.
Mashallah.
We're saying, please work with the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We're here to help elevate Islam together, be unified in that effort.
Inshallah, may Allah bless you, and fantastic efforts. It's very heartwarming to see the day on the Hill. We continue to pray for the Uyghur community and hope that there's innama al-usri yusra, ease after hardship. So God bless you for the work you're doing, and look forward to seeing what you've done over the course of the year next Jalsa as well. Again, Dubai, thank you to the public affairs team as well as Mrs. Roshan Abbas. But we're now